In the IELTS Academic Writing Task 1, you'll have to write a 150-word report on one of the following things: a bar chart, a line graph, a pie chart, a map, a process diagram, or a table, or any combination of the previous. In this video, we're going to go through everything you need to know for the IELTS Writing Task Part 1 for the academic test. The first thing you need to do is to understand what the question is asking you to do. Luckily for us, the format of the question is always the same. The question always consists of a description of the graphic, the text itself, and the instructions. The instruction is the same and it always says the exact same thing. It says, summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So as we can see from these instructions, there are three things that you need to do. You need to select the main features, report on the main features, and compare the main features where relevant. So nowhere in there does it say you need to give your opinion. You only have 20 minutes and 150 words to do three things. Select, report, and compare, if necessary, the main features. Now that means the main features are the most important part of this assessment. So obviously the first thing that you need to do is to find the main features or to select the main features. So let's have a look at some examples of the main features in 6 different text types. Firstly, let's look at the line graph. Okay, here it is. So look closely. What are the main features of this line graph? Remember, you don't have long, so while you're planning your essay, you should be circling or making a note of the main features that you're going to talk about in your response. The line graph below shows the amount of YouTube videos created by 3 different countries from 2016 to 2021. Summarize the information by selecting, reporting the main features, and making comparisons where necessary or where relevant. So let's have a look. As we can see from the graph, the amount of videos created in the UK goes up over time. The amount of videos created in the USA goes down every year. And the amount of videos in Australia stays around the same. Okay, so already we have 3 main features that we can talk about in this graph. Okay, let's have a look at a bar chart. The bar chart below shows 2 components of GDP in Vietnam between the years 2000 and 2008. So what are the main features that we can see here? Well, we can see that both the service industry and the IT industry are going up over time. We can see that the service industry goes up steadily over time, whereas the IT industry goes up with a bit more fluctuation. Okay, this is a process diagram that I made myself. You can see a video going through it in more detail just here. But this is the steps that I use to make my YouTube videos. So as we can see, the main features are that there's 10 stages. It starts with Adam having an idea for a video, and then he's happy at the end when he gets a new subscriber. Hint, hint. We could batch this between how many different types of stages there are. For example, there is preparation stage, filming stage, and editing stage. These are all main features of the process diagram. Moving on to a map. If we look at the map, the map shows the changes of the island of Smash between 1980 and 2020. As we can see, the main features are that the island has become much more built up with tourist facilities, but some of the natural things remain the same, like the trees and the sea and the coastline. If we look at the pie chart, we can see, okay, what are the main features? Well, we can see that boys prefer computer games and girls prefer reading or dancing. Okay, so we can look at the main features here are the main differences between boys and girls' educational activities. Quickly jot them down before you start, because then you'll have them in your plan and you'll know exactly what to do. Remember, this is still the selecting the main feature stage. The table, my least favourite, because I think they're a bit boring, and probably the most difficult ones, the table. So this table shows the proportions of students that go to different secondary schools in Cambodia between 2010 and 2020. So looking at the graph, we can see the main feature is most students went to government school in 2010 and 2015 and in 2020, but the amount of students that go to no schools has dropped significantly. So after we have made a plan and selected the main features, we then need to write the introduction, which is the first part of the essay. In your introduction, you just need to paraphrase the description of the graph that is in every single question. Let's have a look at some examples. I'm going to go to the PowerPoint for this one. So let's look again at the bar chart question. Here we can see the description of the graphic and the graph itself. The bar chart below shows two components of GDP in Vietnam from 2000 to 2008. Now, what we need to do is we need to write the introduction by paraphrasing. So the bar chart stays the same. We've got rid of below and we've changed shows to illustrates. And now here it says two components of GDP, and we can see here it's the service industry and the IT industry. So to paraphrase, we could name them. So the bar chart illustrates how much Vietnam's IT industry and its service industry contributes to the economy between the years 2000 and 2008. So you can see there how we've just paraphrased the exact description of the graph into our introduction. Let's have a look at another example for the line graph. It's very similar in the line graph as well. The line graph below shows the amount of YouTube videos created by 3 different countries between 2016 and 2021. And we can see that the countries are the UK, the USA and Australia. So let's color code this. The line graph below shows, once again we've deleted below and just said the line graph illustrates the amount of YouTube videos created, the number of YouTube videos made. Made and created are exact synonyms, and the amount and the number are also synonyms. So you can say the amount of YouTube videos created, the number of YouTube videos made. By 3 different countries, we've changed that. We looked at the 3 countries. I've just said by the UK, the USA and Australia between 2016 and 2021. From the years 2016 to 2021, we've just added the years and from and to. So this again is a really good introduction for the IELTS Writing Task Part 1. Let's now look at an example for the table. So here we can see the table. The table below shows the proportions of students that go to different secondary schools in Cambodia between 2010 and 2020. Once again, summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So my introduction here is the table gives information about. So I've changed the table below shows to the table gives information about. Again, got rid of below. And I've changed shows to gives information about portions of students that go to different secondary schools. So I've changed it to the percentage of young people that attend educational institutions. Okay, so I've changed proportions to percentage, students to young people, go to that attend, and secondary schools to educational institutions. In Cambodia, the same, Cambodia, between 2010 and 2020. From the years 2010 to 2020. This is now paraphrased and it means the exact same thing. You'll start to see a pattern now. So let's move on to the next text, which is the process diagram. And here we can see the process diagram. The diagram below shows the process of how Adam makes his Smash Exams YouTube videos. The diagram illustrates. Again, the diagram below shows. The diagram illustrates the process of how Adam makes his, the steps that Adam takes to create his Smash Exams YouTube videos, which is the same. I suppose you could say Smash Exam YouTube videos. So you've changed videos to lessons. Okay. So again, very simple. It's the same with any introductions for the IELTS Writing Task 1. So let's have a look at the maps. The maps below show the changes to the island of Smash in 1980 and 2020. The maps below show, the maps illustrate, the changes to the island of Smash, the development of the island of Smash in 1980 to 2020, between the years 1980 and 2020. And finally, we can look at the pie chart. The pie graphs below show the results of a surveys of children's activities. The first graph shows the cultural and leisure activities that boys participate in, whereas the second graph shows the activities in which the girls participate. So here the pie charts compare. So I've changed below show to compare. And then I've summarised it, how children of different genders spend their free time. So culture and leisure activities, free time, boys and girls, different genders. So here we've really shortened in our paraphrase, which is another good thing to do. So overall, the general introduction advice would be to keep the name of the graph itself the same. Don't use the word below in your introduction. Change shows to illustrates, depicts, compares, or gives information about. When there are years, change it from to from or between the years. Finally, try to expand your vocabulary and learn some common synonyms that may come up in the IELTS Writing Task 1 academic. After writing the introduction in a variety of ways that I've just shown you, you then need to write your overview paragraph. This is very important because it is in the rubric that it gives an overview or a summary, because remember, it's also in the question. In the overview, you need to talk about the main trends, but in a general way. So you can start your overview with the word overall or in general. This forces you to keep it in a summary and not going into details. The details come later on in the body paragraphs. So overall, talk about the trends, talk about what's happened, so don't use numbers or specific data points in your overview. Just talk about the main trends, and then in the body paragraphs later, you can talk about the actual numbers themselves. Let's have a look at some overviews we could write for the 6 different text types. Okay, so we can look here. We already have our graph. We have our introduction. The bar chart illustrates how much Vietnam's IT industry and its service industry contributes to the economy between the years 2000 and 2008. So remember, we look at our main features in the graph. And we can say overall, remember, always start with overall. Overall, both the IT industry and the service industry rise as a percentage of Vietnam's GDP every year. As we can see, they both go up every year. The service industry rises steadily. Service industry goes up about the same each year. Whereas the IT industry rises with more fluctuation. Okay, and that's it. So we've given an overview of the main trends, and we know now that the body paragraphs are going to be firstly about the IT industry rising with fluctuation, and then the second body paragraph is going to be about the service industry rising steadily. This is how you need to write your overview. Okay, next up is the line graph. Again, we've got the introduction already. The line graph illustrates the number of YouTube videos made by the UK, the USA, and Australia from the years 2016 to 2021. So again, let's have a look. Overall, the videos produced by the UK rises over time. As we can see here, that's one of the main features. The amount of videos created in the USA drops over time, as we can see here. And the videos made in Australia stays around the same. Now, it doesn't stay the same, but compared to the other two, it's relative, okay? So it's around the same, okay? You could say here relatively or approximately as well. So again, you're just talking about the main features in a general way in your overview. In the table gives information about the percentages of young people that attend educational institutions in Cambodia from the years 2010 to 2020. Overall, the proportion of pupils that go to private school in Cambodia is slowly declining. As we can see, 15, 12, and 10. We're not going to write these numbers in now, but we will in the body paragraph. But pupils attending specialist schools is on the rise, 5 to 10 to 15. The number of students not attending school is dropping over time. And again, no school, 10 to 3% to 0%. Again, no numbers here, it's just a general overview, hence the overall. This is what you need to do in every IELTS Academic Writing Task 1. The process diagram is slightly different. The diagram illustrates the steps that Adam takes to create his Smash Exams YouTube lessons. Overall, the process has 10 stages, starting with Adam having an idea and ending with him being happy that he has a new subscriber. It can be split into 2 main stages of pre-filming and post-filming. It is a linear process. Linear just means it goes in a straight line and it doesn't go back. If it did go back, if there was an arrow here, then it would be a cyclical process. Also here, we've split it into two parts between before filming and after filming, because this is how our body paragraphs will be structured. This is why planning is important. And also the main features are here. The process one is a little bit different to the rest because you have to find a way to split it naturally and cohesively. The maps illustrate the development of the island of Smash between the years 1980 and 2020. What are the main features overall? Overall, the island has been transformed by the building of tourist facilities. Okay, so that's the biggest change. It has, however, kept all of its natural features. As you can see, the coastline is the same, the beach is there, all the trees are still there. So this splits the body paragraph into what's changed for body paragraph 1 and what has stayed the same for body paragraph 2. Again, overall, very important to have an overview. And finally, we have the pie chart. The pie charts compare how children of different genders spend their free time. Overall, most of the boys spend their leisure time playing computer games and hardly any do any reading. As we can see, computer games is the biggest one and reading is the smallest one. In contrast, because we are comparing, remember, comparing the main features. In contrast, dancing is the most popular activity for girls. Here is dancing. Now, in the body paragraphs, this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the boys in one paragraph and the girls in the second paragraph. Alternatively, you could talk about different things. You could talk about how girls read 10 times more than boys in the body paragraph, or that they both like listening to music, the similar amount. But for this one, we're going to do boys and girls. So that is how to write the overview. So some main overview advice. Start with the word overall, comma, or in general, comma. Don't use any numbers, therefore the body paragraphs. You don't want to be repeating yourself in your IELTS Academic Writing Task 1. Write about the main features that you see in the graph. Remember, the 3 things you need to do is to select, summarize, report, and compare the main features. Split your overview into 2 parts as it will give your essay cohesion when it comes to writing your 2 body paragraphs. And finally, put your overview as the second paragraph so you don't forget to do it. You can't get higher than a band 6 without an overview. Pause this, write it down. Now that you have your introduction and your overview, you now need to start looking at the specific data points. If in your overview you talk about one main trend, in the body paragraph, you then need to talk about that trend in detail by using dates, numbers, times, steps, processes, data points in the table, whatever it is. Let's have a look now at some examples of how to write body paragraphs for the IELTS Academic Writing Task Part 1. So as you can see, we already have our introduction and our overview. And our overview says we need to talk about the service industry and the IT industry. So in my first body paragraph, I'm going to write about the service industry. Interestingly is always a good way to start with the charts and graphs. It's a really good adverb and it gives you an interesting grammatical way to start. So, interestingly, the service industry's contribution to GDP consistently grows every 2 years. In the year 2000, it made up approximately 6% of gross domestic product. As we can see, 6% is about here, 7% there. It rose by 1% each year, and by the year 2008, the service industry accounted for 14% of Vietnam's GDP. It more than doubled in 8 years. So you go from 8 to 14%, which is double. So using words like approximately, accounted for, doubled, okay, and also using these data points, this is all good signs of a good body paragraph. Let's have a look at the line graph. So again, we've got our introduction here, our overview, and now, interestingly, again, the amount of YouTube videos created in the USA plummets each year. See? It's a main feature. In the year 2018, the country made 20 million YouTube videos. By 2019, this had dropped by over a quarter to just 15 million videos. The downward trend continues in 2020 and 2021 with only about 11 million and 8 million videos respectively. You can see that here and here. So this is just the first body paragraph, okay? You'd still need to talk about the UK and Australia in your next body paragraph. Have a go in the comments. Pause the video and try and write the second body paragraph to this essay. The table is also pretty similar. We have our introduction and our overview. Interestingly, in the year 2010, 15% of Cambodian students attended a private school. Okay, there we go, 15% in 2010, private school. This proportion dropped to just 10% in 2020. Okay, so we see a drop. The inverse trend, which means the trend that goes the other way, is seen in the specialist schools. They had a 5% share in 2010, and by 2020, their share had tripled to 15%. So they're 5 to 15. Okay, so saying something has doubled or tripled is a good way to show your vocabulary. Next up is the process. The process, we have our introduction, our overview, and we're going to talk about the pre-filming stage. Firstly, there is a pre-filming stage. Adam starts his process with an idea. After that, he writes and subsequently rewrites until it passes his quality check. Slides are then made, generally around 5 or 6, and then, if he doesn't get distracted, he dresses up to look good in the video, and then he is ready to film. Okay, so in the process diagram, it's good to use firstly, secondly, sequencing words, or after that, or then. Then in the map, we have our introduction, our overview, and the first body paragraph, which is going to be about the building of tourist facilities. A road network has been built joining the east side of the island to the west. There you go. This joins together all the new facilities. Located towards the north coast of the island here, a restaurant has been constructed, along with 6 huts for accommodation. So here it's good to talk about north, east, south and west, and also in the distance here. Have a go in the comments. Try and write the second body paragraph for this IELTS Writing Task Part 1 for the academic test. And finally, the pie charts. We have our introduction, our overview, and our first body paragraph. Interestingly, the survey showed that the most popular way to spend leisure time for boys is by playing computer games, with over a third of the respondents participating. As we can see, computer games, 34%, which is over a third. Another good lexical resource. Reading was the least popular activity, with only 1 boy in every 50 participating, because 2% is about 1 in 50. This is just another way to vary your vocabulary. And that's it. Make sure you do not write a conclusion. Don't put any opinions in there. And don't write about anything that might not be in the graph. You need to be a robot and not say why things have happened or the reason for some trends or why they might have built a hotel in the middle of the island, because it's not relevant. You're just writing a report of what you can see in the text. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video next. It's a really good one. Good luck and smash those IELTS exams.